I'm going to show you how to make center holes in very large beads when you can't reach to the center with a long reach hole punch. And most of the time you can, but this is an option. So these are the center finder templates that I carry on the website, and they're very easy to use too. So let's take a big bead like this, and I'm going to take these cross lines here and line my petals up with them. And then I'm going to eyeball and see this little tip right here? I'm placing this right here on the edge of the line, and that will show me where my center hole is. So let's do it for this style. Now we've got our petal, and I can use various templates for that, depending on what style of bead pattern I have, of petal pattern I have. So I'm looking at this, and I've got it, I'm going to line it up on this crosshair right here, and I'm measuring this distance and this distance with my eyes, and then I'm going over here and making sure that it's got the same configuration also. So I'm just tilting it around to using this line here. I'm seeing that, eyeballing that that's the line that I want to use, and then I'm lining my petals up. So I can just tilt it this way by starting at a starting point there. So I've got my center on that one. Let's try a different one. And this one fits very nicely right within this circumference, so that one was easy. So that's how you use the center finder templates. And now I have my block of wood, and let's talk about our hole punches. This is a screw hole punch that I've had for a long time, and it plunges. I'll show it here on the side so you can see. See how it twirls down and it plunges? And this is maybe called a bookbinder's punch. This one here was in an old scrapbooking rivet kit, and it works with a hammer. And then another set that I don't have, but they're the same style as this, so though this piece doesn't come off, they have a little hole where the residue goes. And that's a brand by Harbor Freight, and it's called a hollow hole punch. So all you have to do is Google hand hole punches, center hole punches, or hollow hole punches. And I'll put the Harbor Freight link one in the description of the video, because that one has all different sizes in case you want to make really tiny holes or really big holes. So now I just simply do this, and a tap hammer's fine, but I just use my regular hammer. You don't need a lot of fancy tools for this. And I'm just tapping gently down, and I have my hole. So I line it up here, and always put it on wood. And I didn't hit that one hard enough. Just gentle taps, and there I have my holes. And then this one here, I just plunge down, and I may have to go a couple times to get it to go through. And that's how you make center holes. We're going to be shrinking a very large bead using the toaster oven and the molds. So I've gathered just some supplies that I'm going to design a large bead in front of you just for fun. So, I mean, you've seen lots of videos of me designing beads, but I thought I would add this to the video so it's not just standing in front of the toaster oven. So I'm going to be using pastels and stamps and stencils and inks and colored pencils. Just a little bit of everything, and that's the beauty of using these large beads, is you can really get in with design. You can just go crazy, and that's what I'm gonna do here. And I just, for the fun of watching me design a shrink plastic bead, I'm gonna come in with a stencil, and I'm gonna be using this out here, and I'm gonna see if there's enough ink on that. There is. Some of my inks are older, so that one is a bit dry. Let me see if I can find one that isn't. And these I'm using are by Sukaniko, and they're their chalk inks. And so I'm lining this little guy up here. And see what I have? How fun. It coordinates with what I've done on the sides, with the pastels. And these larger pieces are great for your mixed media projects. Your wall installations and things like that. There. We have that, and now I'm going to come in with this peach, see if there's enough on that, and I'm coming in around here. And this chalk finish, I like to use it, it's matte, just like the pastels, so we're going for a really matte look, and I'm on my frosted side, so that's lots of fun. Now, that blue is pretty dead. Let me see if I have another fun color. I do. I have this wild red. So I'm going to come in. I was hoping I had, I've got a wonderful purple too. Oh, I think I want to use the purple. So I'm going to come in here on my tips. This is just an alternative method to shading. You can do this with inks, and you can do this with the pastels. There. And so just a little bit of everything, on that. So I've introduced that purple in there, and that makes me want to introduce it elsewhere. So I'm going to come in with little lines. And this is just me wanting to put a little bit of each medium on this, using the pencils, the pastels, and the inks. And then I'm going to come in with little dots out here. Just showing you that you can go really all out on these large pieces. And I'm tapping it right here to make sure that there isn't any, did you see the orange came off on that? So that's how we want to dry that. Now I'm going to take us to using one of the molds and the toaster oven, that combination to shrink this down. And the reason I'm using the toaster oven is a big piece like this will, when you're using the heat gun, this area is going to cool while you're trying to get this area, and it takes longer, and you have to just work very quickly, and it takes longer. So it can be done, and you need a container to do it, but I just want to show you this alternative for these large pieces. I have my shrink plastic, and I have my toaster oven, and I'm going to use the toaster oven's tray. I'm going to be placing the shrink plastic on the mold that I'm going to use, and this will elevate it. If I was to place the shrink plastic on here, the metal and the direct contact with the shrink plastic can get sticky in the area and heat unevenly, want to hang out on the hot metal. So I like to elevate it. And the molds can take high heat. They are baking grade silicone. So we're not in trouble there. So we can put those directly in the oven. Now we're not going to be using the glide pen on this because shrinking these large pieces for a long time really what allows the shrink plastic to sometimes stick to the glide pen, and then we get a deformed piece also. So we're doing this without the glide pen. Now I'm going to be putting it on 350, and mine has a timer, so I'm going to set my timer for at least 10 minutes because sometimes, shrink plastic can take a while. I think this bead can take up to 5 minutes to shrink in the toaster oven. While it's in there, I will be flipping it over, checking on it, and reaching if it falls off. I will go in and put it back on. If it drapes too much over the mold and looks like it's kind of stuck, meaning not shrinking anymore, I will flip it over. And I have these wonderful tongs that I get on Amazon. They're just bamboo Japanese food tongs. Or you can use your gloves. They work great. That come with your hand forming kit that I sell on my site. So I'm going to put this in, and you're going to watch me watch it like it's cookies and flip it over. And I'm going to be doing this in fast motion, so you do not have to sit and watch it shrink for the next 5 minutes. I've got it in my oven, and I wanted to also talk about the VOCs. Those are the vapors that shrink plastic cast off, or any plastic cast off when it's heated. The VOCs on shrink plastic are low, so you can use a regular oven for this. I'm using my designated toaster oven that I use for crafts and polymer clay and that type of thing, plus it's smaller. So let's get going with this. My oven's on. I'm going to close the door. Done, and I'm ready to take it out of the oven using my gloves. Coming over here, I'm not using the glide pen. I'm making sure my piece is centered And then I'm coming down with my mold and counting to about 10. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010. And I have a beautiful large bead.